Welcome to Stories We Love. Stories We Love is about stories we love. And we bring you extraordinary people, situations, or circumstances that will remind you of how much good there is in the world. Open your heart or warm your heart, whichever. Maybe your heart's already open, which would be great, and inspire you in new ways. I'm your hostess, Karen Laurie, and to get the full playlist of Stories We Love, you can go to storiesweloveshow.com, storiesweloveshow.com, and there you'll find all the episodes plus maybe some bonuses. We interview people who truly care and are making a positive difference that benefits this gorgeous world and the beautiful creatures and people who inhabit it, and who remind us that even as just one person, we have so much more power than we can imagine. I'm so happy that you are here, and today we get to talk to my friend Lara Cornell. Lara, she's an author, and why don't you share with us a little bit about what you do so that people understand it?
Yeah, so I'm a published artist. I'm an author of a best-selling book called Maker's Mark, and I'm a brand and business strategist. And I work specifically with artisan businesses to help them build impactful and sustainable businesses so they can leave a legacy and hopefully be around for a really long time and pass on their knowledge and their skills.
I love that. And when you say sustainable businesses, do you mean sustainable for the artist or sustainable for the world or both? Or what do you?
Both. Yeah. So sustainable for the artist means a business that can be around a long time and can financially support them, but also allow them to do the good they want to do in the world. Because a lot of artists, almost all of them, are bleeding hearts and they want to make a difference. They want to do good. And sometimes they do it to the detriment where they become more of a charity where they're always giving things away, which makes their business not sustainable. It's not going to last very long. So it means sustainability financially, but we also incorporate sustainability as an eco and supporting the people of the world too. So having a social impact. So it's called a triple bottom line business. So it's people, planet, and then profit, so they can stay in business and keep doing good.
Which is what I believe every business should be, right? Well, planet and people, because you can't have people if you don't have a planet, unless they're on some other planet, which is a
Yeah.
whole conversation. Uh, so planet and people, and then profit. I think that feels so good. I wish that would happen with every business because it seems like the best way to do everything, really.
It is. Yeah.
So you're really passionate about supporting artists and artisans. And could you tell me a little bit more about where that passion started for you?
Yeah. So I remember even when I must have been 5 or 6 years old, you get that question about what you want to be when you grow up. And I knew even then that the answer had to be something that you really love doing, right? So my answer was that I wanted to be a finger painting artist. That
Ooh,
was what I wanted to do.
well,
Um,
that's a good. I think that's an
that'd be
excellent goal.
amazing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, paths took me other ways into teaching and things like that, and then eventually back to art. But I grew up in a town where, artisans and handicraft was just a way of life. I had aunts and uncles and grandparents that were carpenters and quilters, and um, gosh, they made my grandmother had dried flower wreaths in the local arts guild and stained glass workers and all of the things. So I grew up very much understanding the importance of handmade. And I think now I'm getting to an age too where I'm realizing that a lot of these skills are getting lost. There's
Mm,
not many people in my family that know how to quilt anymore, which is weird because, my great aunt quilted all the time. So I'm understanding the importance of keeping these things alive and keeping them going. And in order to do that, they have to be making money, right? And I think the world in general is coming back to realizing the importance of handicraft and artisans,
mhm.
but we need them to be making money so they're still here.
Right, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so what you're doing now when you have that triple bottom line where you're benefiting the people, the planet, and profits, how has that affected your own work and your life as an artist, or your work as an artist?
It's it's made, I would say, my life and my work as an artist a lot deeper. There's a common thread among artists that the business is really, you create the work and then you sell it. You create the work and then you sell it. And you create the work and sell it. And when you have those times where your business is going rough or your life is going rough or whatever the case is, it's too easy to give up, because yeah, you love painting, but you could always do it as a hobby or whatever it is that your craft is. But incorporating a social impact and incorporating more sustainability into the business just made it so much richer, so much more important for me to keep showing up. Because even my little business, as a solo business, can make a difference, but I can't if I don't show up. So it's been a night and day difference in my business and how I feel about my business, and then how I teach other people to do theirs.
So when you teach other people, are you working with all different kinds of artists, or?
Yeah. I work with, any artisan is really any handmade craft. Typically things that are made from natural products, not always. Things that are slow batch, that aren't, fast consumer. They're not industrial made. So my clients are anywhere from ceramicists to other painters to textile designers to composers to writers to metalsmiths and jewelers and all of the things.
Oh, I love that. And when you talk about you help your, I guess they're your clients, when you help them build legacies, their art, tell me more about that.
So we work through, first of all, who they are and what is important to them, because everybody's an individual, and it really is the way that you also connect with the greater world, right? You don't want a business that isn't really you. So we talk about what is important to them, and then we talk about what impact they want to make on the world. So all of my clients work in impact areas that are important to them. So I've had clients that work with homeless, with poverty, with eco-consciousness, with LGBTQ rights and various social justice causes. So it's whatever is really important to them, and we dig down to a story behind it as to why it's really important to them, something that had brought it to the forefront for them. So it's not just whatever I feel like supporting today, it's whatever is really deep down and really important to me. And then we also evaluate their business as far as eco sustainability, like what can they do to help make sure that they're helping the planet, not making it worse, and looking into, the products that they make, how can it be more of a circular economy so it can be reused or repurposed instead of just ending up in the trash when somebody's done with it. How can it be an heirloom instead of just a print that people look at for 2 years and then throw out.
That's beautiful. And then do you also look at, I know I was reading a while back about some jewelry that, let's say it looks like glass, it's got lead in it, and then the lead leaks into the person who's wearing it, and
Yes.
then lead not healthy.
Yeah, not
You
good.
know? And I think there's other things, maybe in paints and in other, even in yarn, like if you're not using organic, if you're knitting, let's say, or crocheting, and you're not using organic yarn, I would imagine that or if you are using, let me just go to the other side. If you are using organic yarn, you're going to probably be, nourishing the earth better than someone who's using the kind of yarn that's got pesticides and what other stuff that might be on there. So talk to me about like how that impacts you and your other clients, and what people can do to shift things for themselves too, if they are just not even an artisan, but somebody who likes to do, I know a lot of people who just like to do little handicrafts just because it's so fun. So how can you be more aware? Like I wouldn't know in the jewelry I have if it's got lead in it or not. Like how do I even know those things, right?
Yeah, a lot of it, some of it as a consumer is kind of tricky. As a creator, it's really important to look at your supply chain. Look at where things actually come from and try to get as far deep down the chain as you possibly can. Because there's other things you're looking at too. You're also looking at underpaid workers and slave workers and things like that, right? Like it's beyond just the 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 material of the product. So the first step as a consumer is to try to go back as far as you can. Who owns the business? Who's making the craft? And I think that's where artisans really kind of step out in the forefront because they're the ones making the thing. So then the step beyond that is what products are the artisan using and where are they getting their supplies. So it can be kind of a rabbit hole once you start doing the research. But the importance lies in knowing the supply chain, being transparent about it, and it's becoming more common in businesses that really put a focus on sustainability, where they'll talk about where they get their supplies and they'll talk about how they source it. I did a project recently, a 100-day project, where I tried to do a 100% transparent supply chain in my art and create little pieces of I call them heirloom art. So they're little pieces of art. But I bought the paper that I used from, it's called Two Rivers Mill in the UK, where they use an old traditional mill and handcraft their paper. I used paints from Sennelier and Charvin, which are two paint companies that have been around for hundreds of years, based in France. They used to make paints for Van Gogh and the likes. And then I found a gold maker in Italy for 23 karat gold leaf that is ethically sourced, because that's also another problem. And they also have been around for hundreds of years. So I try to support not only the businesses that have been around a long time, but also ones that are transparent in where all of their supplies come from when they make their products. So that led to me being able to make pieces of art where I knew exactly where everything came from. I could feel good about it, and it was something that I created to last.
I love that.
Yeah.
And talk to us about your book. What's and how your book might be able to help artisans or people who do handicraft things and stuff like that.
Yeah, so my book has a process in it which is called the Legacy Blueprint, which is what I also work through with my clients and other businesses. Um, but it helps them kind of narrow in on what their impact focus should be. It also talks about how to build a brand that is authentically you. So you're not trying to copy somebody else, you're not trying to keep up with trends, something that's really you, and builds, I call it the root system of your tree, so
Mm.
that it stands for a long time. It stands for what is important to you, your values, but it also gives you the applicable steps in actually building a business itself.
Oh, I love that. And with your clients, how like have you got any examples of how this has helped them in terms of enhancing their experience with other people and the social impacts with the environmental and with their profit? Have you got things about that that you'd like to share?
Yeah, from what I've seen and what we've talked about, is it really helps them shift how they look at their business. It's no longer what I talked about earlier, where you make and then you try to figure out how to sell it. Now it's about your business as a place in the global economy and what difference does it make. They've reevaluated the products that they're making. They're creating transparent supply chains. I have a couple of clients that have built sustainability guides around their particular um, skill set, so around metalsmithing or around textile designs. They've reevaluated where they get their supplies. I have a textile designer, wonderful client, who now sources all her wool in the UK from the sheep across the street. So so literally she crosses the street, and now she's working on a project with willow that she has sourced also from the area around her. So it's made them look completely different at what they're using for their products, the purpose of their products, and how they want to engage with the world as an artist that is trying to make a bigger difference other than just putting beauty out in the world, which obviously is also important.
Oh yeah, beauty's really healing, actually, I think, and I think it has to be very important because I don't think the world would be created as beautifully as it is, and I don't think people would be as beautiful as they are if beauty was, and animals if they weren't, and even insects. If you look at them closely,
Mhm.
some of them are just stunning, and sea creature. It's just beauty is everywhere, even the weird beauty of some creatures. It's really amazing. So I do think beauty is really important. I think it's a very healing energy.
Yeah.
And so, what are you working on now?
I'm actually working on book number 2
Oh,
that'll be coming out soon, that speaks even deeper on all of these topics that we're talking about right now. And I am launching what's called the Impactful Artisan Guild. It's a community for artisans to have more of these discussions because, as we talked about, it can be hard to find the information, where to get the products, what to look for in your supplies, how to keep your studio more sustainable and eco-friendly. So I'm excited to start having more of these discussions and having a place where people can come to talk about it. I'm also building in a couple grants for sustainability and collaborative product design coming up
what does
this
that mean?
summer. So in the Impactful Artisan Guild, we'll have grants that the artisans can apply for to help build more sustainable practices, that whatever it is that they need to be more sustainable in their studios. And then for my clients, I'm working on a grant where they collaborate on a project together and work through the supply chain all the way to the final product.
Wow. Wow, that's really cool. I'm like I like trees a lot. And so when we talk about using trees for art, I always want things to be recycled. Is it possible to do art on anything that is recycled that you know
Oh,
of?
absolutely. Yeah. I think there's there's a movement in sustainable design that's kind of bleeding into sustainable art. It started more of like in the furniture and moved into the fashion industry. So there are a lot of people that are reusing car tires and bike tires and fabrics from other clothes. And I know that it's an older practice too of making paper out of fabrics, recycled fabrics.
Oh,
So the people that do these things can be a little hard to find at the moment, but I don't think that's going to be the case for too much longer. I think there's more and more innovation and there's more and more techniques to help be more sustainable and help the planet.
yeah, I love this planet.
Yeah.
And when you use the word echo, the word in Greek for like echo or ecology, the word echo actually means house or home.
Oh,
And
it's
so,
beautiful.
isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And so, ecology is like the words in the study of our home. And yeah, so I love that you're doing something that's got that deeper meaning for the yourself and for the other artisans that you work with, and perhaps for the people who read your books. How can people get your books or get in touch with you?
Actually, it'd be great if people just emailed me. I'm always happy to talk to everybody. I love talking to artisans and I mean, especially now that I'm in research mode for the book, I love talking about all of these things. So they can just email me at lara@laracornell.com. And
And
if they'd like a free copy for the book, just let me know.
and you spell Lara Lara.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So Lara at Lara Cornell,
Hmm.
Cornell, like
Yeah.
the
Yep.
university.com. That's
Hmm.
awesome. Well, it's just so lovely to talk with you. I love what you're doing. It sounds so beautiful and it sounds so, like such a great example. And a lot of times art is the example that leads others to doing things that are better in some way. So I love that you're doing this, and I love the how did you call it, the triple bottom line?
Yep. The triple bottom line: planet, people, and profit.
Yeah, I think that's so
Yeah.
key. It's so key. So I love this so much. Thank you so much, Lara Cornell. And it's lovely to talk with you. And thank you, everybody who is tuned in to Stories We Love. I appreciate you tuning in, and maybe you can find some really cool, fun, sustainable things. And maybe you can read Laura's books and reach out to Laura and get some ideas on something that would be a legacy for you, that could be sustainable for you, that could be sustainable for the planet, and could be socially sustainable. That's like a winning combination. I love
Isn't
that
it?
so much. I know, right? It's so cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And you have a wonderful day, everybody, and appreciate you so much.